As I sit here waiting for the world to end, it seems like everyone's just busy rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Doesn't it? Does it feel that way to you? The world is coming to an end, and everyone's just busy rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Have you ever heard that metaphor? A metaphor is like a comparison, right? When we're comparing something, usually in real life, to something, some image, some example, right? You could say her face turned into a red balloon, when people discovered her secret. Okay, so if someone's face turns red, bright red, you could compare it to a red balloon. You can make metaphors, right? This is like that, right? If you're comparing things, that's called a metaphor or a simile. Similes are very similar idea. If you use the word like, then it's a simile. If you don't use the word like, then it's a metaphor. That's basically the difference. Okay, so if we say, I don't know, he's a lion. He's a lion. Maybe you love your leader, the leader of your country, and you say he's a lion. Well, you don't mean he's a real lion. You're comparing him to a lion, meaning a strong, like a fierce leader, right? So is your leader a lion? Here in Canada, that's the last metaphor I would use to talk about our prime minister. But maybe you disagree with me. But anyway, so this metaphor, rearranging pool chairs or deck chairs on the Titanic. What does that mean? Well, the Titanic is a ship. It's the name of a ship, a very famous ship. It's a movie too. It's a movie about the ship. The ship sank. It hit an iceberg in the Atlantic Ocean. It was going from the UK to North America. It was crossing the Atlantic. The ship struck an iceberg, and it sank. And so that's the meaning of Titanic. But what does it mean to rearrange deck chairs on the Titanic? Well, a deck, what does the word deck mean? You might have a deck in your house. Okay, the deck is kind of the place, usually behind your house, where you can go outside and you're above ground and you might barbecue back there. You might have some friends back there. Usually if the deck is, here in Canada, most houses have the deck in the backyard. If it's in the front, then it's usually called a porch. A porch. You're walking on the sidewalk, and then the front of the house might have a porch. Usually, like a deck is kind of a place where people want a little bit of privacy. Usually in their backyard, where they can do some, I don't know, have like some guests over, and they're in the backyard. Usually, like here in Canada, usually backyards are a little bit secluded. Secluded means there's a bit of privacy. There might be some trees or a fence or something. Because if you're in your front yard, well, then everybody can see you, and usually the sidewalk is in the front of your house, right? So we usually don't call a deck. A balcony is something else. Usually like apartment buildings, that's a balcony, right? It's a building with more than one floor, like maybe 4 or 5 floors, right? A deck is usually in the backyard. A porch is usually in the front. And if it's just a concrete pad, in the back or the front. You could call that a patio. A patio. Okay, a concrete patio. Patios are on the ground. A deck is raised. A deck is usually made of wood or some kind of composite material. A deck is usually maybe, 2 or 3 feet off the ground. Okay, and it's usually in the backyard. So those are some words that are very similar, but there are some important differences, right? Like a balcony is usually in an apartment building. A porch is front, deck is back. Did I say porch? Patio is a concrete place on the ground. I don't know. Those are some words for you. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is just to tell you this metaphor, okay? Have you ever heard this before? Rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. I've heard this recently. This year I've heard it a few times when I'm watching, YouTube videos or listening to current events, news about the current events in the world relating to geopolitics. Okay, geopolitics just means world politics. Geo means the earth, right? You know what politics means. So if you hear the term geopolitics, it means we're talking about big things in the world, like the Middle East. What's going to happen to the Middle East if this country does this and that? What's going to happen to oil prices? What's going to happen to, I don't know, that's called geopolitics. Are you into geopolitics? That means, are you interested in geopolitics? I'm into geopolitics. I love following, current events, what's going to happen, who's doing what. And these days there's a lot happening in geopolitics, right? But it seems to me when I look at the world, it seems pretty clear the world is going straight for disaster. So it's like the Titanic. The world is like the Titanic. And all these politicians and all these people in the world, it just seems like they're just focused on rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Okay, so a deck chair is a chair you sit in on your deck. Now, the deck can be at your house, but if we use this phrase, deck chairs on the Titanic, the deck of a ship is the place on the ship where, you can sit there and you can look out at the ocean, right? That's called the deck. So, and usually on these big ships, like cruise ships or whatever, they have like deck chairs or pool chairs, right? They're the kind of chairs where you can stretch out your legs. You can kind of, lean back a bit and just relax and enjoy the view, right? So imagine sitting on the deck of the Titanic, right? And the Titanic is sinking. And imagine you're a worker on the Titanic, and you want to make the deck look a little bit nicer. So you say, let's take those chairs over there and put those chairs here and put these chairs over there. You're rearranging the deck chairs on the deck while the boat is sinking. That doesn't make any sense, right? It's useless. It's stupid, right? I mean, the ship is taking on water. What means water is going into the ship, right? The Titanic is taking on water. And you're just thinking about making the deck look nice by rearranging the ship. It's useless. It has no purpose. So, I've heard this a lot, this metaphor used to talk about politics, or especially geopolitics, or maybe business. Okay? So what this phrase means is to do something that's useless given the larger context of the whole thing. Right? It's going to be the small thing you're doing is useless in light of the big situation, the big picture. right? So just like a guy would be rearranging pool chairs or deck chairs on the Titanic, while the Titanic is sinking, it doesn't make any sense, right? Nobody would do that. But yet people do that all the time when they try to do problem solving. Like, I'll give you some examples. So when I was in college, there was a new company that was just coming out called Netflix. Have you ever heard of Netflix? So back in those days, Netflix was a new kid on the block. A new kid on the block. That means something new in a neighborhood of competitors. Okay, and one of those competitors was a company called Blockbuster. So in a few of my classes in college, we looked at a case study of what was happening to Blockbuster, because Blockbuster was going downhill, right? And so I remember several times, I don't know, that was a really common case study. A case study is when you look at a certain real world example. Okay, so there's this company called Blockbuster. Now, Blockbuster, their business was renting movies. Like, I mean, you could rent a DVD. You go to their store, you rent a DVD for a few days, you go back, you watch it, and then you return it. That was their business. But then when Netflix came along, everybody just started like watching movies online, like streaming online. And I remember back in those days, we talked about, anything Blockbuster could do to save its business. Like the whole business was just like going down, right? Because everybody was suddenly interested in watching movies online. So is there anything Blockbuster could have done? I remember talking about that with my classmates and stuff, and we were just like, there's nothing the company can do here. Their whole business is just renting out physical DVDs, and obviously the industry is changing, completely changing. So they're kind of screwed, right? There's nothing they can do. Now imagine if the CEO of Blockbuster would have said, I have an idea, guys. We need to invest more money into having cleaner stores. Okay, let's spend a bit more money on cleaning, keeping our stores clean, maybe painting the front of the store, maybe, trying to make the store more attractive looking. Would that have done anything? No, that wouldn't have saved the business, because it's just, there's a big, massive industry change, and doing small things like trying to make cleaner stores, it would have been useless, right? So that would have been like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Okay, the company was sinking, and now let's say the CEO, tries to do some things to save the company, or to try to make the company a bit better. It wouldn't have worked, right? It's just small things, doing small things when the entire company is going bankrupt. It's useless. It's useless. Okay. So it would be like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, or let's take my business, for example. Okay, my business is, I have a small business, a YouTube channel, teaching you English. Smash like if you love my business. But imagine if Elon Musk were to come out with a brain chip that you could just, you could, let's say, pay $100, and Elon Musk would insert a brain chip into your brain that would instantly make you fluent in English. Perfect pronunciation, perfect vocabulary, grammar, everything. Instantly. Just by having a brain chip, English language brain chip inserted into your brain for $100 maybe. But that would be I mean, that'd be super popular. Everybody would want it. I mean, some people would want it. I don't know. Would you want it? I'm not sure if everybody would want it. But the thing is that people... It's a Harley Davidson driving past my car. So, like, a lot of people spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars trying to pass English tests, right? If for example, if you're coming to Canada, you know, you probably need to take the CELPIP exam. I've made so many videos on the CELPIP exam. Some people spend hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars trying to pass this exam. Maybe they take it like 10 times and they email me, say, Mark, help me with the CELPIP exam. I'm struggling. You know, I've wasted so much money already. Imagine if Elon Musk would just put something in their brain for $100 or $1,000 and instantly their problems would be fixed. They would be able to speak fluently. Would you be interested in that? I think a lot of people would. Because imagine, like, you know, if people can speak perfect English, it gives them a lot of opportunity to get a better job, maybe to move here, to get permanent residence in Canada or the US. It would really help their life, you know, in a practical way. So if they could just get something inserted into their brain, I think they would do it. So imagine if everybody did that and suddenly everybody speaks perfect English. What would happen to my business? What would happen to Mad English TV? It would, my business would tank. All right. To tank means to go down, to die, to you know, go bankrupt, basically, right? So my business would tank, you know, because people watch my videos to learn English. But if they suddenly knew English perfectly, why would they watch my videos? So now imagine, okay, I'm losing business. Now Elon Musk is giving you brain chips. And I thought, you know what, maybe I need to buy a new hat so that people will watch more of my videos. I'm going to buy a nice green hat. And maybe people will like me more and they'll watch my videos more. And that would be like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, right? If I tried to make my channel a little bit better, if I tried to do this or that or something, that all those things would be useless because the big industry change is coming. It's like a freight train, right? A freight train. Sometimes that's another metaphor. If something is coming like a freight train, you know, it's unstoppable. You know, sometimes you see those videos online of a car on the train tracks or maybe a school bus or something and a freight train just coming. Just, you can't stop a freight train, right? And so in the same way, sometimes there's these big things that happen in the world. And doing small things is like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. All right, so when I don't know, when I look at people these days, sometimes, you know, like if there's a big problem, it has to be solved at the source. Like the root of the problem has to be solved, right? And then once that's solved, then you can do small things like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. But unless the root problem is solved, all the other things are useless. Right? So maybe you have relationship problems. Maybe you're in a relationship and there's a root problem in the relationship. And you're busy doing this and you try, oh, maybe if I do this and that, you do small things, all of that's useless. It's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, right? If you think about the Titanic, you know, those workers, like the only way to save the Titanic was for people to just look at the problem and say, okay, there's a big hole in the ship. We're taking on water. We need to fix this problem. We need to fix this hole here so that we don't take on more water, right? That's the only thing that needs to be done. That's the first and most important thing that needs to be done. Once that is fixed, then everything else matters. But if it's not fixed, wait, did I say that wrong? Unless that, like, if that's not fixed, if the hole is not fixed, nothing matters. But if it is fixed, then the other things do matter, right? So, I don't know, I was just thinking about that metaphor recently, that when I look at people's lives, and I look at even like politicians and, what's happening in geopolitics, nobody is actually interested in the root issues. What is the root issue? If we want to save this world, people have to go right to the root of the problem. But nobody likes to do that, especially politicians. They don't like to do that. They like to just, appear like they're doing stuff. Oh, let's do this and this and this. But, some things in life are hard to stop, right? If there's a big problem, I mean, how are you going to stop it? Like, let's say Elon Musk is putting chips in people's brains. How am I going to stop that to save my YouTube channel? Is there anything I could do to stop that? Nothing, right? I mean, what am I going to do? Suddenly nobody wants to learn English anymore. And my little business of Mad English TV, it goes under. To go under, it means to go bankrupt, So just like the Titanic went under the water. If my business goes under, it's probably because maybe Elon Musk poked a big hole in the ship and I couldn't stop it. An iceberg, right? An iceberg. And sometimes these things are hard to see. You can't see what's really coming. So I don't know what it was like to be the captain of the Titanic. You're looking out and like, so I think that this iceberg was kind of submerged underwater. So I think that was where they hit that. I don't know. But yeah, sometimes like there are icebergs in life. And it's hard to see exactly what's coming. And when we hit an iceberg, just like Blockbuster hit the iceberg of online video streaming, right? There was a huge demand for online video streaming, and Netflix came in and just grabbed the market share. So Netflix was just going way up, and Blockbuster was going way down. And there's nothing Blockbuster could really do about that. You have to be, in order to make changes, you have to make changes at the beginning, and you have to be the first mover very often in these types of a business environment like this. The term first mover means like the first company to do something. So imagine if Elon Musk starts putting brain chips into people's heads. Well, I would need to do that first. I would need to learn how to make brain chips and try to get people to buy my brain chips and put them into their heads, right? If people have a demand for that, then I need to beat Elon Musk to the, I need to beat him to the party, right? So the party in this case is a metaphor for, the success of the business success. So I need to beat him to the party. But that's unlikely because I don't know how to make brain chips. Do you know how to make brain chips, guys? I have no idea how to do it. I don't know how to make them. I don't know how to put them into people's brains. But, maybe that's coming where suddenly people can speak English fluently just like that without spending hours and hours and thousands of dollars learning it. Right? So, sometimes it's hard to see these things in life. But if you want to be successful and keep your business alive, you have to have a lot of foresight, right? Foresight means you can see into the future. So, I don't know, maybe my business is going down, guys, but I hope you still stick around. Maybe you love my hat and you just watch my videos because of my hat. even if I don't teach you any English, even if you speak perfect English. Actually, there are people on my channel, there are subscribers that speak perfect English. I don't know why they watch my videos. Maybe they love my hat or my big ears. Something recently happened to me at a store. It was funny. I don't get comments like this very often, but I went into a store and there's a girl, she was actually a very attractive girl. And she said, she told me something that was great. It made my day. She said, how did she say it? She said, "This might sound a bit random, but I love your ears." That's what she said. "This might sound a bit random, but you have cool ears." Or I don't know, what word did she say? Something about my ears. She liked my ears, right? Because I got these huge ears, right? So anyway, yeah, it was kind of cool, you know. It was a good experience. You know, everybody likes getting a compliment sometimes, especially if there's something, you know, maybe people are, because actually when I was a kid, I didn't like my big ears. I was kind of sensitive about my big ears. But now I'm fine. I don't care about, you know, if people were to criticize me or be rude or something, you know, say, "Oh, you have elephant ears, Mark." It would I wouldn't care, right? But anyway, it was nice. It's nice to compliment people, right? So I appreciated her comment. But why did I start talking about that? I lost track. I can't remember. Why did I start talking about that? There was some reason I started talking about that story, guys. I can't remember why I told you about that. Something about the Titanic. The Titanic. What was about the ears? What does the Titanic have to do with ears? I don't know, guys. Let me know down in the comments. I'm getting old. My brain is malfunctioning. But anyway, that's what that means, guys. It's like I said, I've heard this metaphor, you know, quite a few times this year, actually. Rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. You know, let's say a country, a strong country, wants to invade like a weak country, take over the weak country. And let's say the politicians in the weak country say, you know what, we need to allocate more funds for education. You know, governments do that, right? They take the tax money and they say, okay, this much for education, this much for police, this much for, you know, nurses and doctors and whatever. So let's say there's a small country, doesn't have a big military, and they're going to get taken over by a strong country, right? And let's say some politicians in that country say, you know what, we should allocate more money to our education system. Allocate means to give, means to allot or to assign more money or to assign something, right? So like if you're a politician, your job is to take all the tax money and you have to allocate it. You have to allocate maybe 5% for education. You need to allocate maybe, you know, $20 million for the police, 20 million for the firefighters or whatever. You know, you have to allocate the money. That's what allocate means. So imagine just how stupid it would be if there's a country that's being invaded and then some politician says, you know, we should allocate more money for early childhood education, you know, investing in the education of young children. That would be like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. You know, if a politician would say, okay, we're paying the firefighters too much. Let's take some money from the firefighters and give it more to the school teachers. Yeah, that'd be stupid, right? The country is sinking. The country is going down. It's not going to exist anymore. And this person is saying we need to allocate more money here or there. It's like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. The Titanic is going down, right? So all the pool chairs will be underwater very soon, right? So it's stupid to make small changes, right? In that and many things in life. And so when I think about this world, things in this world are going down really quickly. And everybody's just kind of talking about rearranging the like the deck chairs, right? So it's like, sometimes I think about that metaphor. It's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Anyway, guys, there you have it. There's your English metaphor for the day. Do you like using metaphors? Metaphors are great because, they kind of make the language more interesting, right? So instead of saying I have big ears, I could say I have elephant ears. I'm comparing my ears to an elephant's ears, right? It makes it a little bit more interesting. Like if you were to tell me, Mark, you have elephant ears, rather than if you just say, Mark, you have big ears. It's more interesting to use the metaphor of an elephant, right? So do you use metaphors a lot in your language? Let me know down in the comments. In English, we use metaphors all the time. Like, it's very common. So maybe I should make more videos. If you'd like me to make more videos on metaphors, let me know that in the comments. I'll try to do that. But this is just an interesting metaphor that I've heard quite a bit this year. If something is like rearranging, remember using the word like. So in this case, it's you can use it as a simile or you could use it as a metaphor. Sometimes I've heard it, people don't use the word like. Some people use the word like. So you could not use the word like and say, that's just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Okay, that's just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Or you could say, like let's say, take the country example with the allocating the money. You could say, allocating money to education is just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Okay, so that would be the metaphor. The simile, using the word like, you could say, allocating money to early childhood education is like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Okay, so you can kind of use some different words, but the important words are rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. All right, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, guys. So it's kind of funny. As human beings, we avoid the root problem very often, right? I do this in my life, and you probably do this in your life, where if there's a problem, I don't know why, we try to do this, and we do this, and we do this, we do small things, and we avoid the root of the problem. So that's just what I was thinking about today, and I thought I'd teach you that phrase. Rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Let me know, is this new for you? Have you ever heard this before? And give me an example down in the comments. As you, like, for your homework, let me know what example can you think of that is like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. So anyway, guys, hope you're doing great. Hope you learned something new today. As always, I love you so much. Hope you're staying safe, healthy, and happy in this dangerous world. And if the world lasts another day, then I'll